Hi there, this is Adi from Adi Trinity Music, and this video is the first of two about musical intervals. Now, all an interval is just the distance between two pitches. For example, a large interval would go from a very low-pitched note up to a very high-pitched note. But we will be starting with two of the smallest intervals, which include the half step and the whole step. I should also mention that in certain systems of musical tonality, there are microtones, but I will not be discussing those in this video. Now, the piano keyboard is a very helpful visualization to see the distances between intervals. A piano keyboard is basically made up of the white keys representing the natural letter names and the black keys which represent the sharps and flats. Now notice something interesting about the piano keyboard. It doesn't just alternate white keys and black keys the whole way, but instead makes up a very special pattern. Sometimes there's a grouping of 2 black keys, or there's a grouping of 3 black keys, and there are 2 pairs of white keys that do not have black keys in between them. Now pay a special attention to these white keys that do not have black keys in between them. These are from E to F and from B to C. This means that there is no black key that represents E sharp or F flat. Either of those would just refer to the white key next to it and could just be called by its regular letter name. Altogether, there are 12 distinct keys before the pattern starts over again. So, a half step is just the distance between 2 notes that are directly touching and do not have any notes in between them. Examples of this include those 2 white keys that do not have black keys in between them, or going from a white key to the black key directly next to it. A whole step is the distance between 2 notes when it skips over exactly 1 note. You can also think of this as 2 half steps that are combined. Examples of whole steps include going from 1 white key to the white key next to it if there is a black key in between. Or another example of a whole step is when you go from this white key, E, up to this black key, F sharp, and you skip over the white key in between them, which is F. Finally, this special sequence of whole steps and half steps made up by the white keys on the piano keyboard also represents the pattern that defines all major scales. So, if you want to find the major scale pattern, you have to start on the note C, then take note of the whole steps and half steps in order until you get to the next C. So, if we go from C to D, that's a whole step. If we go from D to E, that's a whole step. But E to F is a half step because that's one of the special pairings. F to G is a whole step. G to A is a whole step. A to B is another whole step, but from B to C is a half step because that's another one of the special pairings. So when you put all those together, all the whole steps and half steps in order, then you get a special pattern and you can start on any note and follow that pattern and you will get that note's major scale. With that helpful visualization, I hope you will experiment with whole steps and half steps on other instruments in addition to the piano. For example, on the violin and the viola, a half step is just when 2 fingers are touching, and a whole step is when there is just a little gap in between the fingers. Just remember that on any instrument, from B to C is always a half step, and from E to F is always a half step. I hope you found this video helpful in learning about the difference between whole steps and half steps. If you're interested in seeing the other video about intervals, please subscribe to my channel and I will see you in the next one. Bye!